Yeah, good. Okay. So first, just take a moment to, just release whatever is on your mind. Just let it go and bring your attention to your body and see if you can't just find a proper position, one you can hold. And then the small little thing called relax. I'm amazed how much energy there is in our culture. It is really sometimes overwhelming. When here it's kind of the opposite. Things are a little slow and but things get done, and I'm thrilled to be here teaching this. For me, it's morning. For you, it's evening, early evening. So as you relax into your body in whatever position you happen to be in, that you can keep, and whether you're a chair or couch or floor or whatever, and then bring your attention to what it is that's knowing right now. And you can become aware that there is a lot of changing phenomena in the world of the body, the sound, sight, taste, smell, mind chatter, all of that. Just seeing if you can't just kind of relax it. Don't give it any energy or extra. And I'm wanting to stay with Adam's kind of theme for this month, and for me it has to do with the heart. But I think ultimately all these teachings are about the heart. So just bring your attention to the body and to the heart so that there is some sense of really it is just a sense of generosity towards yourself, which if you do that, you reflect out to others. May I be happy. May you be happy. May all beings everywhere be happy. And then if it seems appropriate to bring your attention to your breath and create that kind of steadiness that is necessary for insight. Finding this stillness, this capacity for non-interference. So it's just a practice of letting go and bringing the attention back, particularly to the body and breath, and recognizing that there is awareness that holds all this. There's really no right or wrong practice. There's just awareness of the awareness itself. I know what's happening. And whether it's one of the sense doors of seeing or smelling or tasting or hearing, a body sensation, or thinking. And the idea is that one doesn't chase anything or manufacture anything, but one keeps letting everything be as it is. So a thought is not a problem. An outward sound is not a problem. An internal sound is not a problem. One simply rests in the center of things. Again, you can rest your mind. It needs not work. And if you find it's easy enough just to stay with the breath and as the mind kind of wanders off, one brings it back to some foundational place, whether it's the nostrils or the belly as it rises and falls, or lungs as they expand and contract. Finding some place to rest. And again, if there is any catchiness, whether it's a thought or a memory, or you have plans that are somehow it's all about the future, see if you can't just stay here. You know, it's not that that's good or bad. It's just that when we practice, we try to let everything go and sit in the center of who we are. There is actually nothing lacking. You have everything you need right here. And in one sense, always have. You are more than your thoughts. One notes the rising and falling, the in and out. If it's helpful to name it, fine. But ultimately, it's about sitting in the center of things and releasing. So, a thought, a sensation, a sound, a gurgle, whatever appears also disappears. So we are resting in this always changing, this phenomena of the senses without needing to be attached to them, just an observer of them. Behind all of this, when we're not looking for, we're not trying to interpret or make something of anything, but just rest in the presence of the knowing itself. Finding a deep relaxation, pulling back from any of the intensity of trying to know or correct or change. That awareness, that knowing itself, holds all things. Therefore, you can relax. even when strong thoughts come, or memories, or plans. See if you can't just pull back a little from it. So it's basically going from a hyper focus on one single thing to a wide angle lens. And ultimately, this is a wide angle lens, holding all things without getting lost in any single thought, memory, plan, fantasy. Any sound, sight, taste, smell, feeling. All of it part of this ever-changing. So the changing is in the foreground. In the background is that holds all things, the awareness itself. And one puts more emphasis on the background, which releases the foreground. sitting in the center of yourself. No place to go, nobody to be. Just this wide angle awareness that holds all things, whether it's the breath, the body, thoughts, feelings, future, past, all held equally. So one finds this rest, this place of comfort in the center, where there is no fear. And when there's no fear, there is the recognition that everything is connected. And one can relax, knowing you're a part of everything and everybody. I don't have a bell with me, so we are just going to, those with closed eyes, open eyes, but not different, whether the eyes are open or closed. It is still this recognition. And so we're going to take a break here, about 5 minutes. And so, what is it? Take care of yourself? Is that the idea? I think it is. And we will see you back here in about 5 minutes or so. Just so I'm assuming you're back. And I wanted to, well, first I'd like to just thank Adam for setting it up so that there's a theme. And not that I mean, a lot of people, they write all this stuff for their talks, and I actually don't write anything these days for that kind of thing, But that's what I've always, so much of it is about the spontaneity of, of almost, my gosh, it's scary when, Jack Cornfield used to say, oh, well, you got 50 years into this, so, and my friend Gil Fronsdale used to say, just, you got enough into it now, so you might as well just use what you have. And that's pretty much all I'm doing, is use what I have. So I'm going to start with something you've all probably maybe heard me over the years, but I thought really as a theme, that and it comes from Nisargadatta, and it's really wisdom tells me I'm nothing. And love tells me I'm everything. And somewhere between the two, my life flows. Wisdom tells me I'm nothing. Love tells me I'm everything. In some place in between, all things will flow and come together. So one of the things in, Buddhist thinking or Buddhist practices is we put more emphasis on the wisdom because the result of it is a good heart. And so that wisdom factor is really based on, to me, this first of all, this incredible, simple yet profound teaching called impermanence, anicca. And that impermanence is something that it goes to the core of all things, And our job is, we can recognize it in the outer world, but also the inner world. Things are changing so rapidly. And if we can look at science somewhat at this, say, oh my gosh, things are moving so fast, they look steady. And because they look steady, we kind of believe them to be that. The truth is, it's just phenomena that's constantly in flux and in change. And yet it appears, due to that repetition, that somehow that there is a stability there. And so I can't say that it's not true, because in the impermanence, there's also this truth that there is simply in the consciousness, in the knowing itself, there is a steadiness. There is a, I don't like the word absolute, but it's an absolute. That what is holding all of this, it may be that all the particulars are impermanent phenomena. There's no resting place in the physical phenomena. But in the consciousness, there is an absolute resting. And so we attend to that kind of dance between the wisdom tells me I'm nothing, love tells me I'm everything. We have to dance between this. It would be nice to say we're only one thing, but we're not. We are friends of the phenomenal world that is constantly in flux. And so we understand that the flux, sometimes it's pleasant and sometimes it's unpleasant. And, having been through a couple of cancers and these surgeries and stuff, they were great teachers of the truth of impermanence, but they also made me turn my attention around and say, oh, what is it that's holding all this? Am I going to live? Well, heavens, here I am. I'm probably, in the last couple of weeks, I've been swimming every day. And because I'm ADHD, so, it's really hard in a pool for me because there's nothing happening. It's just like, oh, there. I mean, it's fine for me. But here, there's always, out on the reef, there's fish and all sorts of, everything's changing phenomena. And so, and I don't get caught by much of it because it's pretty much, going every day. I go to the same, I do this big circle around a big rock. It takes me about 40 minutes to do the whole thing. And, it's interesting. They used to have really big groupers here. And during the pandemic, they all disappeared, you know. And they didn't disappear because it was what I believe, but I don't have some absolute in this, is the locals just said, well, we'll eat them, So they went and hunted them. And so to me, it's like, oh, I don't see them anymore, but it's better than, I haven't seen any sharks this year. And usually I see a few anyway. Usually they're reef sharks or black-tip sharks, they call them. And, but I know that in the Gulf here, there are bull sharks, and they're kind of aggressive. But I've never seen one. I've been swimming in these waters for years. So really the thing is, okay, so there's this impermanence that is constantly, it is giving the message that, what is my hearing and my smelling and my tasting and my mind trying to do? It's trying to steady everything so that somehow, first of all, I can say, oh, that is real to me. It may not be real at all, but that's okay. That's real to me, and that my senses and my mind stabilize it to be some sense of steadiness. I was going to say some sense of permanence. No, it's some sense of steadiness, and that steadiness is actually an illusion. But because it's there, there's a relaxing that happens. And part of it, we just want to control our environment so that we avoid unpleasantness and experience more pleasantness. Simple, in that way we're simple creatures. All creatures are simple that way. And the thing about the impermanence is that if nothing changed, this would be really a nightmare as far as I'm concerned, But it changes. So here we are in this world that, in some ways, can be relied on to change. And that maybe doesn't sound great, but it is just, that's what it is. We can rely on it to change. And because we can rely on it to change, then if we're looking for our stability within it, we're actually looking in the wrong place. There is something that is known behind all of this, that, again, I use that thing about lens, that there is the macro lens that we particularly look at the rising and passing away that's going on. And then there is the macro, the expansive. And it is really that wide angle lens. And wide angle lens can take in just the physical, which is fine, but it's not enough, We have to step back even farther. And that place that we step back into is this wide angle lens. It's no longer about the particulars, and it is really now about the overall, and the overall itself, I go back to this I had lymphoma, and I had this surgery after I had gone through chemo, and they cut me up pretty good, you know. And I'm very grateful that they did. But there was 5 days there where the pain, even with they came in every 4 hours and gave me a shot of something, and it didn't really do the trick. You know, it was just sort of like I just kind of lay there in an incredible discomfort and recognize that, oh, I could attend to the discomfort, which it happened to be so loud and all-consuming that it was very difficult for me to do this kind of dance between the wide-angle lens and the specifics going on. And it was one of the more intense battles or experiences I had with trying to release the specifics of the moment, which had to do with this word called pain. So the pain was stronger than my ability. And but you know what? It was really 5-6 days, and I turned the corner, you know. And I think someday I'm not going to turn the corner, you know, and hopefully it won't be that painful. And I always think, oh, my grandfather, he just kind of, he went to sleep and he didn't wake up. I think, oh, that's good. My stepmom, she also, same thing, you know. And yes, she did have a blood clot in her leg, and I don't know, broke up or something and went to her heart, and her heart stopped, and that was the end of it, you know. Hey, I like that, you know. This getting old and having to kind of deal with the discomfort of it. That doesn't excite me. I don't know anybody who would. Except that you are alive. And there's a lot to say for that. So anyway, so we have this, okay, so we have impermanence. And then we have this, you know, it's true that this world that we live in has this truth that because we want it a certain way, we suffer. Simple as that. We want it a certain way, and we suffer. So part of it is to acknowledge that that is the truth, you know, that you will have experiences that you cannot control, that you will know discomfort and suffering. And in a way, what's that all about? Well, here's the trick. Is that suffering? Is that, you can't get around it. It's part of the makeup of being here. And it opens the heart. You know, you can't avoid. You have to allow it to, you know, sometimes it just rips you apart, and sometimes it just softens you up. But the truth is, it will, you know, it can bring you to your knees, but it also has this tendency of softening that then allows you to recognize that there ultimately is no separateness. You are always part of everything, whether it's the trees or the ocean or the clouds that are coming through now and the wind. It's all It's all part of this big movie that being born into is about. And you can begin to start to recognize that it is softening you. And you can fight it, of course, but you can only fight it for so long. And then it's going to get to you, and you will, the discomfort will create the truth of this word dukkha, or suffering, or unsatisfactoriness. And the trick here is to accept it. Oh, it's part of me. Oh, it's part of everybody and everything. And I may want to perfect everything so that it's all great, but it lasts for a little while, and then something happens, and you are caught, and you will suffer, One of the beauties about this practice is, if you really get this practice, you won't suffer as much. That's all I can say. You'll still suffer. Particularly, the body is an impermanent phenomenon that, is it's a gift, and you are a wonderful recipient to, I'm hoping, a body that's somewhat workable. But I say somewhat because it's not going to work for everybody, And some people will suffer a lot, and some will not suffer or as much. And I wish that for all of you, but I know better. It was never a guarantee. So there's also, in Buddhist thought, there's this ideal of no self, non-self, true self. And that word self is there. And the thing about human beings is that we all kind of go back to this very primal relationship with this language of I, me, mine. And because of the I, me, mine, we get caught. And we get caught, and by being caught by it, that we suffer, And here is a chance to I wish I could say release, but it's really not release. It's really, again, it goes back to the lens of minutia and wide angle. And we have to go back to the wide angle and recognize that that obsession we have to be something, to be that I, me, mine, and that somehow, that's just how it works, the I, me, mine. It's not good or bad. It's just simply that it is the precursor to the suffering. And so in a way, we have to step back from that, because whenever we invest in that I, me, mine, there's usually a backlash. And it's simply the truth of consequences of desire for things to be the same or different. And when we step back from it, that intensity to somehow control our world lessens. Oh, you know what? I see it and feel it, but I'm bigger than that, or I'm more than that. And that identification that was so apparent and needed on some level is not so important. So suddenly, oh, we're talking about when the suffering somewhat lessens, and hopefully it's not something that's stuck in, that was the thing about, even though it was only 5 or 6 days, and every 4 hours they gave me a shot, and I was supposed to be better, but the intensity of what was going on in the world of physical pain was great, and I never really got around that. It was just, it was part of a healing process. And I think it did soften me, and I think everybody's situation, that they go through some kind of difficulty or pain or suffering, that if it can be used properly, it actually is something that you can say is I don't want to call it a gift, but I will. It's a gift to open the heart. And I'm sorry for the situation. I certainly didn't appreciate mine. And, and I've suffered, when I was little, I suffered quite a bit, and I kind of blocked it all out. I was a good guy, a good boy, good whatever. And so I blocked it. And then one day, I just remember, I'd been to India for maybe a year and a half, 2 years or something. And I was at a retreat, and suddenly I realized how much I had suffered. And I just cried for 10 days. I couldn't do anything but just, what I had held for so long, I couldn't hold anymore. And it was necessary for me to go through that, And I can say, I've had some interesting times in my life that from relationships are always a big deal. And the suffering that has entailed. And I'm really grateful, great teachers, and I'm glad I'm on the other end of all that at this point, this next month I turn 79, so I have another year before the big, what do they call it, octa something or other, and I hope I live that long. I am so grateful to be alive today. It's like how many, looking at my great supporters Randall and Diane, who took care of me this last cancer bound, was huge for me, so kind. And I am so grateful for all that's happened along the way. And, I'm so grateful for Mountain Stream. You guys are rocking, and I know everybody's coming from different places, but, Nevada City is not a great, huge, or Grass Valley, it's not a great, huge place, and I am amazed how wonderful the community is to come together and done all they've done and are doing all they're doing. And, I want to thank Adam for taking the reins, as I have completely let go of them now. I don't feel that way anymore. What I feel is that I'm grateful for the years I've had, and I think that at this point, the thinning out of the self, which is that I, me, mine, that, at a certain stage, particularly, I was thinking, in youth, you have to strengthen it, it's so that it actually, you become, a participant in the cultural reference, and hopefully that's some meaningful work that has helped others. And as I look around, I'm on, what do you call it? I forgot what it's called. It's something view, anyway. Gallery view. So I see you all, and many of you, I know your stories, and some I may not, but enough to say, it is such a privilege. One of the beauties that I had over the years, over 30 years, was I taught at Spirit Rock a lot of retreats. And now, I know my good buddies, Robert Hall, Wes Nisker, they have passed away. And so, I'm going, how come I'm still here? And maybe I won't be long, I don't know. But I am grateful that, the universe has given me this time. And, a couple of years ago, I would say it was questionable. And now it's like, oh my God, I don't even remember a lot of that, I really don't, all I care about is that, I guess it boils down to this thing, kindness, and kindness is not just about other, it's about yourself too, and that somehow you can relate to that kindness as a way of, and an awareness that it's like the heart is holding everything, And yes, I know, wisdom says I'm nothing, and love says I'm everything. So ultimately, and you're going to dance between these two, and you need to dance between them, because when you need emptiness, it is available to you. It's like, oh, can I let go of that? Shit, sure I can. And if you can't, then you're going to suffer, But if you let go of it, You'll be okay. There'll be another round, and it may, take and just pull a little bit on the strings of attachment, and you will then be able to note that there is this kindness that's holding everything, And even though, I know there's a lot of people in the world that question, what's happening. But there's also the fact that when one thins out, and this is really what the practice here is, it's thinning out the I, me, mine. And to thin out the I, me, mine is to, first of all, you have to notice that kindness is something that is inherent, and in a lot of creatures, it's just their nature, And they'll be defensive if given the opportunity, but if things are okay, they're going to be fine. And I think that's one of the wonderful things. I don't have pets, but I think they have been earlier in my life important because they were kind, and they, whether it was my cats or my dog or whatever, and I really appreciated the kind of teaching they were doing, and then of course I ended up on the road, and I couldn't keep anything anymore. Nothing. Nobody. It was just this lovely world of Dharma, and all my my love of those, and they're all passed away, and actually a lot of the people around me, and I think the most identifiable piece is kindness. It is such a simple word, and you know who you have to be kind to first. But once you recognize that you are that kindness, then there's really nothing stopping you from being a participant or a joyful person in this situation called life. And you will treat yourself and others with that kindness, and it will become the backbone to the awareness itself, because the awareness itself, that's the intelligence, and the kindness is the heart that holds all things. So I was going to do a few questions. Is there it's a little tricky here, or for me, it's not like being in the room. I'm only halfway around the world, though. Amazing, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Halfway around the world.
So John, Jen will take questions in the hall, and then I will call on anyone who has a question on Zoom. And if you're on Zoom, if you could raise your Zoom hand, and if you just wave, we might catch you. Thank you, John.
Thank you, Robin. So, questions? And I also say I'll take answers to anything, It's Big world. A windy world I'm in, though. So, do we have any brilliant questions about answers or anything?
Well, John, I'll ask a question while everyone's to warm up. Oh, Carol's got a question. Go ahead and unmute yourself, Carol.
Charmaine also. Go ahead.
There. Hey there. So we were just learning yesterday in a class here in Mountain Stream about the 5 aggregates and
Yes.
form and feelings and mental formations and something else. And then the 5th one is consciousness. And I had never heard before the consciousness as an aggregate.
That's
It's
correct.
not the same as the consciousness of the spacious awareness, the limitless awareness of consciousness, the big consciousness, that the aggregate consciousness is more attached to ego, or what can you say about that?
Okay. In the 5 aggregates, that 5th one, consciousness, is a relative consciousness because all of them are relative. They arise and pass away quite rapidly. And therefore, it's an impermanent phenomena. And so in the Theravadan schools, they talk about the impermanent phenomena as consciousness. In the Advaita world, or in the Dzogchen world, or in a lot of the Tibetan world, which I think Ajahn Chah also held this in the Theravada world, was that there was an overall consciousness that was not, it was not impermanent. It was actually sort of the backdrop to everything. And so in some ways, I go to Ajahn Chah's teachings on the fact that that consciousness, I hate to say the word, but it's kind of permanent. it's that behind everything that holds everything. And it's experienceable by us. We can experience it. It's not it's not esoteric in that way. It's actually very plain and available. And it is the backdrop to everything else. So that particular consciousness, and you have to divide these two up. One of them is impermanent, and the other is actually, maybe the better word is stable consciousness instead of permanent. And so there's this stable consciousness that is the backdrop to all these teachings. And that would be probably the language that I think Ajahn Chah would very much do. And so would the Dzogchen, so would the Advaita school. All of them would somehow say, oh yeah, that's there. That's part of who we are. So that makes sense to you?
Yes, thank you. Thank you for that.
Most welcome.
This is Jen from the hall, and we don't have any questions at the moment. Charmaine, did you have a question?
Good. You have to turn on your voice.
There we go.
Okay.
Yes. I just wanted to, it's so hard to put in words, but what you mean to me and all the teachings of all the years I was exposed to your teaching. I so deeply appreciate it, especially your teachings about the heart. And that was probably more than I've ever heard it from any other teacher. It always came back to that with your teachings. And that's how I feel. And so you confirm that for me, and the kindness like you shared today, tonight. Um, I just love you so much, and I'm so grateful for you in my life. Thank you.
Thank you, Carmen. That's so sweet. And it's, it is true. You know, one of the things is having gone through a couple cancer illnesses and stuff is that yes, it boils down to kindness. I mean, how could it be anything else? You know,
Yeah.
we're such fickle creatures, and we want it a certain way. And
And from your teachings, you've taught me, when I see people now, I I see their story. I know they have a story just like mine, and I look at them differently. In fact, they are starting to respond differently, obviously, which just, my heart is so full because yeah, they see that. I mean, and eh, I mean, I don't know where I'd be without the Dharma. The Dharma, yeah, and I could go on, but the other thing that I'm really learning in daily life is about the spaciousness, about
mm,
the expansion. Wherever I look, I see more. It just opens up, and then like I walk a lot and I love nature. I'm a part of it every day. It just, you know, it's just so full now. And I just thank you for all that. And thank
well,
all the teachers that I've had in my life, both animal and human. I have a kitty that's almost 21 years old, and she might even outlast me, but she just sticks around, and she teaches me every day, as you know, how they do teach you about kindness and
that's
what is the word? Un un What's the word? Unconditional love. No matter what you do, they still love you, right?
right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you.
May we all be unconditional love because conditions change, and sometimes difficult. But even difficult doesn't mean that the kindness is not available, is not there.
Right.
Thank you. Let's we can do
Virginia,
it.
yeah. Virginia, if you would like to unmute yourself.
Hi, John. Thank you so much for your teachings. And yeah, I was early on my path. I sat with you at a retreat, and you were so encouraging, and I can never thank you enough for that. And I love what you said about the heart and that suffering, really helping to open it and soften it. I was at a weekend retreat where we were talking about Mahasati. And, for me, it kind of brought back some early practices I had done about that, kind of like what you were talking about this evening, about, that that still place, that big awareness. And I'm just wondering if you if you could say a few words about Mahasati, because I think it's not for me, but I do like sitting in that peace that I find. So I just wondered if you had anything to say about that.
Well, it's very much a Ajahn Jumian in Thailand is a great proponent of it, and it's really it translates into all systems, whether it's Advaita or Dzogchen or whatever, because it's that holds everything, and I just I love that. There is that awareness that is non-dual, and because dual always has this side and that side, but the non-dual, it just is. And what we're talking about in the Mahasati is it just is, and in many ways it is the closest thing to awakening that I know, and it's not in one form or another, it could be, and again, it's not even cultural. It's not Tibetan. It's not Thai. It's not Burmese. It's not Sri Lankan. It's just that there is this wonderful truth that holds all things. And you can go to that wide angle lens, and then you've included everything. And that's all your different feelings, everything, And I'm not saying it's because there's also within that, there is suffering, and there's less suffering, but there's still suffering. And it may not be yours. I've always come to this, well, it's not mine, but it's still there, So, and that's what, to me, one of the truths of it is that even if I may be free of suffering, but the world is not, I'm not free of the world, therefore the world suffers, therefore I am affected by it. I can't escape the human condition. And maybe my human condition may be that I may be completely awake and I'm not going to suffer, but others are going to suffer. And I should be awake to the fact that I'm not separate from them. Therefore, the suffering is part of the intricate part of being here, And I wish it wasn't, but that is just the truth, And so it doesn't even have to be your suffering, but suffering exists, and that is the big part of the condition that we then can learn to love other, So anyway, I think we're coming to, my watch says it's workout time, but I don't know, these watches have gotten so fancy, I don't even know what they do anymore. When I go swimming, I like to know when I go in because I go for 40 minutes to an hour. And but as soon as my watch hits the water, it says, 1 foot or 2 foot. So it's a depth gauge. I want to see my watch. But that's the new stuff. So anyway, I want to do a little metta, and then we're going to have Jen's going to do some announcements. In some ways, when I think of talks, why do I have to do something extra? Metta. But it's a supportive practice that helps loosen the contraction of being here, So just taking a minute, if you can sit comfortably, and just to feel yourself first, you know. You are everything and everybody. And when you put your attention on your heart, then that non-separateness, which is your birthright, is that holds all things. So as you hold your heart, which may need you to stay active with, but ultimately it's about opening your heart to all things, all beings. Recognizing the limitation of time. And hopefully that understanding of limitation of time actually makes the heart more in the moment, holding the general world in a most simple and direct way. May I live with an open heart. May whatever covers my heart be dissolved. May I live with an open heart. May whatever covers my heart be dissolved. You are a product and responsible for that good heart, to care for yourself and ultimately to care for others, so that we can all live in happiness and peace. And I don't have a bell, I would ring it if I could. And I want to say thank you